Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. I keep
Jeez.
thinking it's later. It's later in the day. It's early. It's 10 o'clock. It's right side of campus. We're back. It's a football Friday, our first of the season. I'm your host, the big man on campus. This is the right side of campus. Me and my co-host, Donnie Rightside. Donnie, it's football Friday. Finally had our first night of college football last night, and it was great. It was fun. It was awesome to watch. Hit a few bets, had some fun. Now we have Friday night. Then tomorrow we got a big full card. NFL getting going next week. How you doing?
Jeff, how early did you actually get up that you're now saying good afternoon, everybody? I'm pretty impressed. It's September. You're waking up early these days. You're not even sure what the time is. You're putting in all that work before sunrise. I love it, man. It is our first football Friday. It is exciting. NFL football on deck next week. A full weekend, Jeff. Jeff, a monster slate of college football. You know what I like about these opening weekends too, Jeff? They give us that nice burst, give us a little Thursday, give us a little Friday, give us a little Saturday. And then they break it down and say, you know what? Even though Sunday's not our day, we're going to put a marquee game on there. And you know what? Monday's not our day, but we're going to put a marquee game on there. Major League Baseball all through the weekend, Jeff. It's finally going to be September within 24 hours.
Yeah, I actually didn't wake up early. I don't know. I guess I just heard it. Afternoon. I don't know. But we're back. Hopefully everyone has a great day. Hopefully you had a great Thursday. Hopefully you made some money last night. We'll get into that and more. We'll talk all of college football. We'll get into all the games tonight. We'll wrap up the NFL preseason and we'll get ready for the weekend as well. A lot going on. Hopefully you enjoy the show. Check out and hit the like button, please. Also, if you're on Twitter, retweet the show. It's a great way to get it out to people that don't see it on a regular basis. We've got a couple of people in here already. Alex, Joey, Reggie, Wally, David, welcome in. Hopefully you enjoy our show here on SBRpicks.com. Let's get into it, Donnie. We'll start out with some headlines here, see what's going on in the world. We start out with Michigan State. And according to this article and these different reports, they have been found in no violation in the Larry Nassar case, Donnie. First of all, how? Second of all, I guess this is just the end story. I mean, Nassar's going away and he's gone. He's still committed all these horrible crimes, but Michigan State found to be in no wrongdoing here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to cover for people or, knock the Big Ten on certain issues, but I do find it interesting that, it's single-handedly the entire Penn State, program was shuttered because of two people and they found wrongdoing there. But then again, you go over to Michigan State with hundreds of people involved in this, from the victims to the people who knew and didn't know. It's kind of funny where maybe the NCAA, remember back in the day, Jeff, you're too young to remember this, but you definitely know the story. SMU getting the death penalty, which ruined the program, a monster football powerhouse,
Right.
was literally nuked off the map. And the NCAA said, you know what? It doesn't matter what these institutions do. We can't give them the death penalty. They nuked Penn State, $50 million fine, bowls, taken away, and, wins and losses taken away. And Penn State actually recovered very nicely from this. But sometimes they say, you know what? Maybe we overstepped our boundaries. Let's just leave it to law enforcement. Boy, I guess look. I'm not a Penn State fan, but if you're a Penn State fan or, fan of the program or the school or you went there, you really got shafted, even though penalty was appropriate to me from what Penn State got. But the simple fact that they were first and now everybody's saying, hey, we don't want to dip back into that again. I mean, Penn State should have a lawsuit on their hands, don't they?
Sure. And in this case, with Michigan State, this is what being a football program and a basketball program is all about. I mean, you get to skate out of things like this. You get to kind of avoid things like this. Wasn't I think Gabe was talking about, wasn't the SMU thing over some kind of car or something?
What do you mean? For what?
Like it was just over improper benefits, correct? Or no?
For LSU?
No, for SMU.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, they were on. There was a pro football program. They were on payroll. Like, come here, we'll give you $50,000 a year. We'll put your mom up in a house. We'll give you stuff like that. That was pay to play. Yes, they were just paying the athletes as if they were professionals. Yes.
Sure. But this kind of ends the Larry Nassar thing. I mean, Larry Nassar's gone, and he'll pay for his crimes. But Michigan State, and we look at Tom Izzo this morning. I'm sure he's very gleeful, Donnie, after being pulled away from this. He doesn't have to worry anymore, Donnie.
Yeah, no, everybody's skating free, and maybe Izzo was onto something when he was like, you know what, we're going to win basketball games, and that's going to bring the community together for the healing process, which he was so tone deaf it was actually scary. But then again, Jeff, does anything surprise you anymore with coaches? They're just monotone, they're like robots, and as long as they win, nothing around them can actually affect them. Urban Meyer's out there. I mean, look at all the coaches that have skated by monster scandals because they win. But I do always remember in February, maybe if we can win this basketball game, we can heal this university because hundreds of young girls were abused here. But as long as those girls turn the TV on and see we won this basketball game, boy, they'll feel so much better about Michigan State. Congrats.
Yeah, delusional.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick's heading to trial, but not for anything criminal. A arbitrator setting his grievance with the NFL to trial, denying the league's request to throw out the quarterback's claims that owners conspired to keep him out of the league because of his social injustice protests. So how about that, Donnie? The NFL is getting it taken to them a little bit. Good for Kaepernick, taking it to the NFL. Not worried, not scared. He's going to say, you know what? I'm being blackballed here. We all know he is. Nice move. Look, Colin Kaepernick's not one to just go away, and he's kind of sticking to the NFL, trying to stick it to the NFL here.
Look, Jeff, I think I'm getting blackballed by the NFL. I'm white, I'm 40, I'm slow, and I'm too old. But if I go run routes for the Philadelphia Eagles and they don't sign me, Jeff, they are blackballing me and holding it against me, age discrimination. I would have the same lawsuit. But back to the original story on this one, Jeff, with Colin Kaepernick. Do I think he's going to end up winning this? No, I don't. But I'm actually glad it's going to trial because one way or another, Jeff, we're going to get a settlement that says, yes, he was blackballed. No, he was not blackballed and can finally get out of the news. One way or another, Jeff, we won't have to hear about it anymore. So I'm actually happy that because you know how it goes, right? They denied it. They picked the judge. This is unfair. We're going to keep going with it. It's the same thing when somebody gets caught and they actually go to trial. The judge is going to have a verdict, guilty or not guilty. Here's your payment. Here's your non-payment. I just want it to come to an end.
Good for him going at the league. Colin Kaepernick, a social hero who deserves to be recognized as one. Let's move on. Andrew McCutchen headed to the Yankees. How about that? I saw this come in late last night, Donnie. Finally, a move to help the team a little bit. Andrew McCutchen though hasn't particularly had a great season though. I mean, you look at his 2018 255, 15 home runs. But look again, this is a career very good player. Problem is he's getting older. You call him old man McCutchen. I still think he's got a little bit in him, but
He does. He
you
does.
know, he hasn't made an All-Star game since 2015. He's really just kind of been in the dregs. You look though, I mean, you look at his last three seasons, counting this one. I mean, he hasn't hit above 279. Home runs are kind of down a little bit. He did it 28 in 2017. Maybe a resurgence to a better team will help him out. At any rate, it's a nice move. I mean, it gives you something on your team. Maybe we can get a little revival here. He did win the MVP back in 15, so not too far removed.
No, no, and look, Jeff, when you're looking at some of his highlights and his batting statistics, right? I mean, he is getting a little bit older, but take a look, Jeff, at the two ballparks he played in. PNC, not very hitter friendly, and of course, AT&T out in San Francisco, one of the worst hitters ballpark in the National League. So now he's going to get to go to that little bandbox in New York. We all know you get rejuvenated, right? Hot air up there. Everybody hits home runs. If you watched last night in the game, one of my favorite home runs continuously seen, Jeff, at Yankee Stadium is the one V-Mart hit last night. 314 down the line hits the top of the fence, which would be like a damn near like can of corn in any other stadium, but that went out of the ballpark. He's not there to, you didn't trade Gleyber Torres for him, Jeff. You gave up a couple cash to carry it for the rest of the season. You have a spot in the outfield because, Jeff, starting in the beginning of the season, April, May, and June, when you looked at that Yankees lineup, there were no easy outs in that lineup. A lot of injuries have taken place. Sometimes it's nice just to get the veteran bat out there every once in a while. Is he going to help? Is he going to put them over the top? No, but he might be able to steady the course, where somebody doesn't have to play an exorbitant amount of innings down the stretch. I like the move for New York. Is it really going to help him? I'm not sure, but it doesn't hurt.
The big problem though with the Yankees is Aaron Judge isn't coming back anytime soon. I mean, I think they thought he would be coming back very soon, but I mean, look at his comments. His pain is down to a 4 from a 5. I mean, in all those weeks, it's not any better.
And who's the
That's a
doctors, Jeff?
concern.
Who came up like a day or two after, like, broke a little bone in his wrist, 3 weeks, he's going to be back. I mean, what scam doctor was that?
Yeah,
Probably a
I
Twitter
have no
doctor,
idea.
right? Somebody on Twitter? Yeah.
I have no idea. But here's what I'm going to say though to the listeners, and I'll love you forever if you can do this because I'm really fed up with this and I don't know how to fix it. So Donnie, I have Google Chrome, right? Use Google
Yeah.
Chrome.
Yep.
So when I open Google Chrome, it goes to Yahoo homepage.
Yep, it
How
did
the
that to
fuck?
me. It must have been a reset. Yep, all you got to do is, I mean, we'll do it after the show, but see in the top right hand corner, if you're watching through like YouTube, Jeff, that little three dots over there, you go in the
Yeah,
settings
yeah.
on that. It's very easily correctable. We won't bore the people with IT tactics during the show
No,
and
no,
try
I
to
got it.
work that out, but
I
it's
I
very easy.
I
I
got to
had the
change
same
that.
problem. Yeah, I had the same.
Fucking absolute worst. Final headline today. What do we got here? What is the final headline? Oh,
Kendrick, like
Michael Kendrick,
can
right?
somebody steal him? Yeah, yep.
Yeah, you know what I think? You know what I think should go on here? Seriously, I think we're gonna be. I don't think Michael Kendrick is going to jail, right? So he gets released. First of all, he's gonna be able to be grabbed on the cheap. He can still play. He didn't commit a horrible crime or anything. You know, if you're the Eagles, I mean, why not go back and pick him up? I mean, what you need linebackers.
You know what's interesting about that, Jeff? The more you think about it, like let's just say like he doesn't go off or doesn't. Like now thank goodness. I've never been under indictment. I've never been, out on bail or bond and sitting at home and waiting for my lawyers to call and what's my trial going to be? Because I can imagine guilty or not guilty. It's one of the more stressful conditions you will ever be placed under in your life. Am I going to jail for 2 years? Because that's what you want. Like, hey, we all joke like, oh, you're going to Fed prison and it's going to be like a country club. It's still going to prison where you're going to be restricted. What do you get out of Michael Kendricks, though? Let's just say if he doesn't even go to trial, Jeff, for a year and a half, is he completely focused on football or does he go home at night in a dark room and wonder if he's going to jail or not as opposed to getting into his playbook? I like your point of view. You could pick him up for a song and a dance. He could be your third or fourth linebacker out there, maybe even play special teams and steal an athletic player. But what do you actually get out of him? And is he committed now that he's going under indictment at this point?
Yeah, and I mean, look, they're not going to do it, but I mean, they should. I mean,
Yeah.
why not bring him back on the cheap? You can get him for virtually nothing. Doesn't work out, you cut him. I mean, it's not going to help. If you look at like a culture kind of thing, it probably won't help. But I don't know. It was just a thought. The college football. We're recapping what went on last night, and what a fun night it was. I mean, obviously, look at some of the score lines. I mean, some of them were blowouts, and obviously, you're going to have blowouts. It's week one. You're going to see patsies playing really good football teams. But he started out down with Central Florida, and what a night for Mackenzie Milton. But let's pump the brakes a bit. UConn is arguably the worst defense in the country. I mean, they are. They're that bad. UConn hung around early, but look, Central Florida just drops you on a fucking, in an avalanche, just kind of runs away. A game does go over the number, and Central Florida cruised on it. I mean, it was that simple. UConn are a horrendous defensive team. You're muted.
That. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. What are you actually getting out of UConn? What did you expect out of UConn in this one? The civil conflict, they're going to be up. It's their first game at home. The national champions, Jeff, as we like to say, are in town. Looks like, from coach to coach, they really didn't miss a beat on offense, but did we really expect them to miss a beat? I mean, isn't the engine Mackenzie Milton? You sort of can just line it up, excuse me, and run that fast tempo offense and get through it. They looked a little, it was a little bit sloppy early on, but that's expected from the first game of the season. But if you ask me before the game, is it more likely UConn's going to hang close or get blown out? I think we all had the appropriate number that UCF blowing them out.
If you're out there and interested, UCF now 17-8 over the last 3 years against the spread. They also have covered 8 of 11 on the road, so they're taking care of business away from their home campus. Keep it moving here. Northwestern Purdue, great game this was. Look, I have a lot of issues with this game. I had Northwestern. I took them a small play. Listen, I had two issues with this fucking team. First of all, this whole quarterback carousel, taking Dorsett out, putting him back in, taking him out, putting him in. Listen, it threw off the fucking. You saw in the second half, he was all over the place. You got to keep one quarterback in the game. I don't know why it's so difficult. If he's healthy enough to play, he's healthy enough to play the entire game. I don't understand why you just after he goes 7 for 7, you take him out And then the offense needs to just kind of falter from there. They're lucky they had turnovers, or their offense would have been poor at best. Second of all, I don't understand these coaches that play 10 yards off the receiver, and you just give them a free completion and say, okay, we're gonna go one-on-one coverage basically. Once he catches the ball, all he's gonna do is basically juke you out of your socks. He's gonna get 20 yards. They were doing all night. The number 4, the young kid Purdue player, he was killing Northwestern. When will these fucking coordinators say we're gonna stand up and we're gonna press these guys early? We're good enough to know we're not gonna get beat. Northwestern was lucky to get out of here with a win last night. Big win for them. Purdue lost them. I don't know if you saw the unsportsmanlike conduct on it to end the game. Did you see that?
No, did not. What was it?
Basically, Northwestern had the ball and they were knocked
Mhm.
at a field goal range. And Northwestern had a punt with about 2.5 minutes to go. The
Yeah,
Northwestern player, as the play's ending, he takes the running back and slams him into the ground, and
yeah.
they throw a flag, automatic first down. Game was over because they could just run the clock out.
Yeah, well, not the
So
smartest move, but you're right. Getting back on the whole Thorson comment. When I saw your tweet, I actually thought he might have got hurt again. But then you come back like, is it basketball? Like LeBron James or Ray Allen heats up and he has a good 6 minute stretch, and you give him a blow on the bench. I don't understand it at all because I'm always under the old school philosophy, Jeff. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks, and what's the point of that? Where do you see that actually work? Does it ever like at a high level? We're going to rotate possessions, or we're going to put somebody on a pitch count mid game. It just breaks up the entire flow. And what are you doing to the kid's psyche anyway? Because you're saying to yourself,
exactly.
like, well, if I stay in the game, and you know what, normally I would just throw the ball in the flat for a 6 yard gain. But you know what? I got to take a shot here because I want the touchdown pass and I want to show the coach I'm really good. What decision making process are you putting on the quarterback? Because if he goes, boy, if we go 3 and out, I might not get the next possession. And he tries to force something in there. It's ludicrous. It's idiotic. Let your starter go. If he sucks, Jeff, or he's injured, yes, pull him out and put the next guy in. But don't go, hey, the kid looks good. Woo, let's pull him out for a little bit and talk to him about what he saw out there.
And
It's ridiculous. It
and
really is.
and here's also the issue. It's not like you were playing fucking Saginaw Valley State. You're playing a
Yes.
conference
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
against a pretty good team on the road. You have to find a way to win those games. And look, he wised up towards the end and didn't keep doing it. But the rotating quarterbacks, I hate. I generally, and this is a good piece of advice to any better out there. This is a situation to stay away from. Generally, it doesn't work. You saw last night with Purdue, didn't work. Sindelar or Blau, it didn't work. Keep one quarterback. Consistency's there. Stick with those teams. Don't if you see we're gonna do a quarterback carousel, stay the hell away. It
Yeah, and
just
I
it
mean,
just
in
does.
college football, you can't get mad when a team goes like the Tebow package on the goal line with the one because you have the 260-pound quarterback and you ram it in. Nobody gets mad at that, but like every other series or doing that, that's just it's egregious coaching, and I can't believe it still goes on.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. This one I was way off on. This was a surprising one here. Minnesota absolutely hammers Mexico State. And I think we're starting to see that this Aggie team isn't very good. They're not going back to a bowl game this year. They lose 48-10. Minnesota was terrific. They had a 28-point second quarter. Zach Nextad was great at quarterback. And Donnie, how about this? How about me? I gotta applaud myself for this one, Donnie. So I'm doing my fantasy draft the other night, and all these
Mhm.
guys are taking all these big time running backs. I take uh I take the kid from Iowa State, Montgomery, who's going to be a great
Mhm.
fantasy player, and then I take Rodney Smith as my second fucking running back because I know Minnesota's just going to run the football down people's throats. 153 yards last night for Rodney Smith. Minnesota just cruises. Big second quarter. Let me ask you, Donnie, is this more Minnesota being good or New Mexico State being bad? Because I think it's more of Mexico State being pretty bad.
Bad spot for New Mexico State. It was. Are they as talented? I mean, look, they're stepping up in conference, playing a Power Five on the road. I mean, they're going to get hammered. And you know what's kind of interesting, Jeff? Which God love Twitter. I mean, my notifications were blowing up through stuff that wasn't even through me yesterday. I know, Jeff, you were getting the same thing, but that's another story. But I love the congratulations on Twitter, right? Saying, ha, See that? New Mexico State was bad last week, and everybody wanted to bet against them, and we all knew Minnesota's going to break in a freshman quarterback. What is it, 10-7 in the first quarter? Never lay double digits with Minnesota. Can we let the game play out a little bit? Same thing with the Utah game. Oh my God, Utah looks terrible. Look at this. They're probably going to get beat by Weber State. Can we let the games play out a little bit? But that's the best part about Twitter, Jeff, and the best part about opening weekend, where you get congratulated on the first 2 or 3 possessions as a winner until you let the game unfold.
Yeah, I'm surprised. UAB was only up 7-0 on Savannah State after the first quarter, and we didn't see anything there. But yeah, no, people kind of flip out. I used to do that myself, but I kind of just let things play out now because in weeks 1 through 4, teams take a little bit of time, and the teams they're playing are generally very poor. But big win for Flax boys as they keep rowing the boat. Wake Forest, Tulane. A lot of people were on the wrong side of this one. Some people on the right side. And this is where, Donnie, getting the best in a number is important. This is why numbers are important in college football. If you're sitting on a 6.5 and you're taking the dog there, you're playing with fire a little bit. I mean, you are. I mean, you covered this game, but you got to find a way to try to get a 7, in those kind of situations. Most people, though, I think cash with Tulane. Look, Tulane really missed the boat on this one. You're at home. You were against a team that basically had tons of suspensions. They're not good defensively, and you couldn't move the football. I mean, this is a big loss for Tulane because if you're sitting on a win total with them, or you're sitting on a some kind of future with Tulane, you're at this point kind of worried because you look at their schedule. I mean, they're going to win one of their first 4 games. It's just not going to happen. Them winning any more than that. This is a big loss for them. They should have had this one. They should have got the job done. They were at home. It's a big spot for the Green Wave.
Yeah, no, it was interesting to watch that game. Jeff, Cade Carney, one of my favorite players in football, the A.J. Olets of the world, the hard-working running backs out there that won't get to see too much. It was an interesting game. I was tuning in and out of that one down at Tulane, but you're right about that. Isn't that one of those games that you just talk about where, you know what? Even though they're getting a touchdown, this is a winnable game and it's at home. And when you put it in perspective of one of those 50-50 type games, even though technically it wasn't because they were touchdown dog, but you still have that in your mind. And if you can get that W week 1, that's an ag plus in that lineup where maybe you steal a game down the stretch for another one, but that gives you the advantage. So you know what? Just handle your business the rest of the way and you get the team total. I still think they're a good football team. I like the direction of the program. Need a little bit better play out of the quarterback, but I like that style of football. It's a little bit of a throwback there. So we'll see how it goes down the road for Tulane, but always a little bit sneaky, Jeff, with Tulane, right? At home, usually a sleepy atmosphere down there on a Saturday, and they're going to play physical football, but nice game overall to watch as a just from a betting perspective because it came almost right on that line. I saw a lot of tweets out there saying, hey, look, I'm sitting on a 7 or a 6.5. Boy, I hope, they get the ball first or Tulane gets the ball first so you can cover the opposite way. And it worked out well. So if you had the number, that when the right number took the line, took the plus money, it was a good win by you.
Couple of other nuggets here. Oklahoma State does not cover as a 46.5-point favorite. They win 58-17 against the Bears of Missouri State. UAB covers 39-point favorites tonight. They win 52-0 over Savannah State. And if you listen to the student section, I gave that one out. Texas A&M beats Northwestern State 59-7. Wasn't easy, but to get the cover, laying 48. A lot of touchdowns for A&M in that one. And how about this, Donnie? The UC Davis Aggies beat the just putrid San Jose State Spartans.
Man.
San Jose State are awful. They are really bad. They're a team that may not win a game this year. Actually, I don't.
Did you think it could get worse, Jeff? Like, how could it get worse from last year? I watched San Jose football a lot last year. They were awful, and it's like the only good player they had in like the last 10 years. It seems like was Frank Ginda. Now he's gone, and just because he's gone, Jeff, UC Davis puts up 44. What's the conference schedule going to look like for going against San Jose, man? My God.
Yeah, well, here's one thing I do know: David Fales isn't walking through that door anytime soon. So they're going to have to worry there. I mean, you look at going forward. I mean, they get Washington State next. That's a loss. That's at Washington State. Then they go to Oregon. Then they get Hawaii, Colorado State, Army, at San Diego State, UNLV, at Wyoming, at Utah State, Nevada, and Fresno. I mean, where is there a win on this schedule?
I don't know. No, I don't know. You're right. No, it's bad.
Maybe Colorado State at home, but I mean, Colorado State's not that bad. They're not going to lose to San Jose. Who's coming back to help in this situation, man? My God. Yeah, this is a 0-win team. That was their chance last night, and they lost. So mark that down. San Jose State will not win a game this year. But hey, remember, those FCS, FBS games can be really profitable, Donnie, if you're betting on the low D1s against good
Yeah,
FCS teams. The
yeah.
FCS teams can surprise. So but remember that stuff. And then also the other way when you're looking at a high Power Five team against an FCS team, lay it all the time. Always lay it. Look at UAB last night. Lay it, lay it, lay it. Don't worry about the 39. They'll win by 50. Let's go into
Now hold on,
today's
Jeff. A
action.
quick point on San Jose State. I believe though is one of their coaches or running back coach was in the MC Hammer. I can't touch this video. Did you see that in the offseason? I believe it was San Jose State.
No, I didn't see that.
It's fantastic. If anybody out there knows what I'm talking about, you probably got a good laugh at it. But I believe that was like Ellen and all that stuff. Where you see the one like MC Hammer used to do like the typewriter dance in the baggy pants. Well, he was in that video and he was doing the dance as like a 50-year-old now. It's kind of funny, so might want to look that
No
up.
shit. Hmm.
Yeah,
That's back to Donnie's youth there. Good stuff.
yeah.
Little MC Hammer. Let's get into tonight's action, Donnie. Let's start out with 141, 140.
Let's see what we got here. Let's go flip it over on the card, Jeff. Do you want to go right down in order of what we have, or how would you like to do
Yes,
it? Time?
we can do that.
All right, let's go down.
We can do whatever.
141, 140, 141, 142, Jeff. 7 o'clock tonight. Utah State, Michigan State. If you take a look at this game, Jeff, opened up at 25 at Pinnacle, 25 at Chris. Seeing a little bit of money, Jeff, coming in here on the Utah State Aggies, Jeff, at 23. It looks like across the board. Over under seems pretty cheap here, but if you watch Utah State play, more of that, hammer type defense, slow it down, maybe a little read option action. 51 as the over under, Jeff. Utah State, Michigan State. They're clear, Jeff. They're clear conscience now, right? Nobody did anything wrong. How do they approach this game now?
Yeah, I have some concerns if I'm Utah State for many reasons. One of which is you're going to Michigan State on a Friday night and playing a really good football team that's got a terrific defense. I think Utah State has some major defense concerns as well. This team was horrible last year against the run, and you look at against their Power Five opponents, they gave up a 525 yards, average in those two games. So, I look at LJ Scott and I ask myself, can he have a big game tonight? It looks like he can. For me, Donnie, I've kind of had this pegged as like one of those 35-7 type of games. I think Utah State has a lot of trouble moving the football. I think this Michigan State team are for real. With 19 starters returning, I think on the offensive side as well, you got to be excited about what you have with Lewerke. This is a quarterback that I think is kind of an offshoot Heisman kind of player. LJ Scott, I think, has a better year than he did last year. I think defensively, they're very good. This has the makings to me of like 35-7. I think Utah State really struggles. I wouldn't do anything but lay the points.
Interesting one there, Jeff. We'll keep it moving down the list. We'll go 143, 144 home game, Jeff, for Western Michigan versus Syracuse. Looks like that line opened up, let's see, around 6, depending on where you're shopping at, Pinnacle or Chris. That line also dropping as well, Jeff. Seeing some underdogs get some action. 4.5 across the board for Syracuse here, which, again, not a good sign if you're the Cuse heading on the road. A fellow MAC coach makes it big time with Syracuse now coming back to the homeland. What's going to take place in this game, Jeff? Because it looks like Western Michigan's getting some respect.
Yeah, and I think they should. I mean, obviously, this program's done a nice job over the last few years, even with Fleck leaving and Tim Lester coming in. They've done an okay job, and their offense last year was pretty good. They scored 30 more points 7 times. John Wasink was pretty good until he got injured. The backfield's pretty good. Bogan and Bellamy are back. I don't really see a ton out of Syracuse that I'm too excited about. I mean, I guess they're a good offense, and we just got to give them respect because Dino Babers is there. But I mean, who really cares? I mean, what did they do last year? I think they're 4-8. They had trouble getting stops defensively. Who does Dungy have to throw the football to? Steve Ishmael's gone. Irvin Phillips is gone. Listen, I'm not running to the win at a bet on Syracuse. I'm not. I think Western Michigan are better than people think. I think they're a team that will challenge in the MAC this year. I like that they're at home in this game as well. I think this could be a pretty high-scoring game. I mean, we saw some of the games last year at Western Michigan. They scored a ton of points and really had no success stopping it. When that's my concern here. You lose Darius Phillips on the defensive side. they do bring back 13 starters, 8 of them on the defensive side, which means, they lost 5 guys defensively, and one of them was really good. I'm leaning Broncos here plus the points, and I'm leaning over. I think we're out of. I think we're kind of going a little too far, thinking that Western Michigan is just going to lay down. I mean, who are Syracuse? I mean, really? I mean, are they really that good a football team? I don't know that I see it. Western Michigan's 36-19 at home over the last 10 years. They don't lose very often at home. I would go with the Broncos here if I had to play this. I think this game's close. It wouldn't surprise me if Syracuse loses. Dungy's a good player, but that's really all they have. You're muted.
There we go. Yeah, it's good having the earpiece here. That doesn't give me any reverb back. 145, 146, Jeff. Western Kentucky and Wisconsin. We'll add that one in. The reason I want to add this in, Jeff, because it's always that interesting line move and line totals that you see. Opens up at 34, 32, depending where you're shopping at. Seeing as high as 37s right now, Jeff. But what we're looking at here, look at the over-under. 51.5 at Chris, 52 at Intertops with a 37-point line. We know what Wisconsin wants to do. Pound you into the ground and play good defense out there. But they're not giving Western Kentucky a lot of respect, Jeff, figuring that they can actually score more than, 10 or 14 points in this game. Are you looking at anything maybe total-wise or have some, maybe an added angle to this game? Or it's just one of those things where Wisconsin's going to hand the football off and just laugh and say, we're going to rip off 10 yards per carry in this game?
Yeah, that Gabe Morency and I talked about this game, and he mentioned the over, and I kind of perked up. I agreed a bit with him there. I think Wisconsin will be able to move the ball. I mean, they generally steamroll players and teams like these. They put up 45 points. If they put up 45 points, this game's going over because Western Kentucky can put up 10. I mean, that's really all you're hoping for here. The question is, I mean, who scores the points for West Kentucky? They don't have a ton of options there. They don't run the football either. And that's the problem with West Kentucky. They're very one-dimensional on offense. They generally have little or no run game, and it's basically if you can just stop that passing game, you'll be very good. This probably kind of has the makings of the game we just talked about with Michigan State, Utah State. The problem is you got to lay 36.5 points here. A lot of points. I would just shoot that the game goes over. I think it wouldn't surprise me if Wisconsin gets there themselves. I mean, they put up, I think, 54 last year in their first game of the season. This looks to me like a 49-10 type of game. I would probably just say the game goes over. The only concern you have here is if this is 47-0 and they just blank West Kentucky, which is possible. But with the ability of West Kentucky's offense, they're never going to just say, all right, we quit. They're going to keep throwing the football. I think that keeps you in this game total-wise. So, yeah, I would go over the number if I had to.
Now, Jeff, I want to bring up a point of view that you can use for this football game, and it's something I always think is interesting, especially when you're looking at a total or how another team can ice another team at the end of the game. The Wisconsin offense isn't going to change, right? They're going to be up. I mean, look, they're laying over 30 points, almost 5 touchdowns in this game. So if you get into the fourth quarter, they're not a passing team where they just say, you know what, let's take the air out of the football and just hand it off. They're going to roll 4 or 5 running backs deep with that big-ass offensive line and still continue to churn as the game goes on. When you take the air out of the football with Wisconsin, Jeff, it's what they do well. So talk about that point of view where you see that line that's still, 51, 52. But when you get into the fourth quarter with a passing team, maybe they take the air out of the ball and put the brakes on. I don't think that's going to be the case with Wisconsin, Jeff, because there's 6 minutes to go and they're at the midfield at that point. They can still score within 5 or 6 plays just handing the football off. Talked about how that sometimes factors into what you're looking at capping wise with that.
Yeah, plus, I mean, they're going to have the ability, even if they do run, they're not going to have much stop. They're not going to have much pushback from the defense. I mean, West Kentucky can't stop anybody. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. They had major issues on the ground and against the ground last year. I don't think it's going to change at all. But yeah, you're right. I mean, teams like this generally, if you're up 40 points, they're not just going to sit back. I mean, Paul Chris is going to kind of just make sure there's no doubt here. They're going to run their offense, and you got to feel happy with that. Yeah, I don't think they're going to call off the dogs. They don't generally do that, and I don't think they're going to have to worry about it because they're generally very successful running the football. This is a bad run defense that's going to have trouble all night getting stopped.
Also, one quick point on that as well, Jeff. You know how sometimes we see these sandwich games in the middle of the season? Alabama likes to do it a lot late in the season. Play one of those cupcakes like a Savannah State, or maybe pull a MAC team out late and get healthy and get ready for like an Auburn the following week or an SEC tilt. That's not really the case here, Jeff, even with Wisconsin. I mean, there's nothing on deck for them for a couple weeks till they head into Big Ten play. So it's one of those things where you're not necessarily saving people and you're going to run guys in and out, but you're not having that process say, look, let's get in, let's get some work and pull everybody out, because the following week, I believe it's New Mexico or New Mexico State that Wisconsin's going to play. So running it up on the scoreboard, not a big issue for them. They'll play everybody and just continue to pound the rock.
I've also been on record as saying I think their defense is a bit down. It's not as dominant as in years past, Wisconsin. So I think, look, if West Kentucky's going to score points against Wisconsin in any year, it would be this year. Also, keep in mind Quentin Cephas out for Wisconsin. He's suspended, the
Yep.
receiver. So I mean, there's some ability here for West Kentucky to score some points. Like I said, I think this is like a 44-13, 48-13 type of game. I think the total is just a bit too low. I'm surprised it's only 51. I thought it'd be closer to 60-ish.
Yeah, because I mean, and also the thing I like about some added inquiries on that too, you're going to get the first game of the year. What a nice day to get Taylor off, where maybe he can get 200
Yeah.
to 250 yards. I remember a great point of view that we had a few years back where Barry Alvarez said, "Well, how do you get these big time running backs to come here? Like, why would they come to Wisconsin, or the Ron Danes of the world? I mean, they shoot a plethora to the
They're gonna get the
NFL."
ball.
And Barry Alvarez exactly always said, like, look. Make sure you get him the ball. He used to tell Bielema all the time as well. Give him the ball 30. I don't care what the score is. Give him the ball 30 times so he can run for 275 yards. So we can walk into somebody's living room who's going up against Ohio State or Miami or Oklahoma and says, son, you come here. You're going to be a Heisman winner. We're going to put you in the NFL. We'll give you the ball 30 times. What running back doesn't want to hear that, right?
In 17, Taylor had 61 rushes of 10 yards or more. That's 32 more than Saquon Barkley had. So this guy was explosive. He's a good running back. I think he's the Heisman Trophy. I think he is probably the winner of this award. He's
That's
a
my
bit
guy.
low
Yep.
odds-wise. Yeah, but he's going to have a great workload. He's going to have a terrific ability to put up a lot of numbers. You look at the running backs they've churned out over the years. I mean, Ron Dane, Corey Clement, Melvin Gordon, just so many great players. And it's really been running back you there at Wisconsin because they give the players the football and say, go ahead, do your thing. This is a special player, and he's going to have a nice shot tonight to put up some big numbers.
Yeah, no, intriguing. Let's keep it moving, Jeff. An interesting game here, 147 and 148. Colorado State and Colorado, the in-state battle. Typically over the years, we see some pretty good games. I want to say also, Jeff, I see the N up there, so I'm assuming it's played at, I don't even know if they call it Safeco Field or whatever they call it up there in Denver at this point. It used to be Sports Authority Field. So it is a neutral site game, but the same thing we looked at last night when you saw the Minnesota game. First game versus a team that already played a game and had it under wraps. And also what's going to play in here to some public perception where, of course, we saw Colorado State. They didn't look very good versus Hawaii. So immediately everybody's going to bet the other way. And we saw it cross over some key numbers, Jeff. Line opened up around 6. Now it's pushing that 7.5 range. But does Colorado State bounce back here versus Colorado? Because Colorado is in their first game. Just an added inquiry on that. If we look, 61 it opened up again, Jeff. Now up to 65 in this one. So you're going to have to score some touchdowns to hit that total. Colorado State, Jeff, what can we look at here?
It's Sports Authority Field, by the way.
Sports Authority.
They're
Yeah, but didn't that go
yeah.
bankrupt, though? It's still Sports Authority Field, even though it's bankrupt?
As far as
Somebody
I
out there.
see, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You got to look last week, Donnie. And the big question is Colorado State this bad defensively? And they gave up 617 yards to Hawaii, which, look, again, I think we are all well aware Colorado State isn't good on defense. They're an up-tempo team. KJ Carter-Samuels is a guy that is going to run with the football. They're a bit more of an up-tempo offense. That's what they were with Nick Hill there. That's what they were with Michael Gallup there. They were moving the football. They have no problem putting points up. I wonder as well about Colorado. I think ever since Jim Leavitt left, I don't know if this defense is the same. Look at their offense. To me, though, it's always a bit bogged down. Steven Montez, I'm not a big fan of, but I like their run game. Philip Lindsay leaves, but you get Trayvon McMillan in there from Virginia Tech. I think the transition from him to McMillan is going to be perfect. I really like McMillan. I think he's a good player. He's a guy that ran for over 2,100 yards during 3 seasons at Virginia Tech in a limited role. I think he's going to come in and be important. Montez is okay. He just makes some poor decisions sometimes, and he needs to fix those up. If he can do that, I don't see any issue with them covering. The problem is also the numbers not great. You're getting 7.5. That basically means they got to win by 10 plus points. I'm not willing to think they can, even though Colorado State looked real bad. For me, we kind of lost the plot here on the over, but I still think we see a game in the 30s here. Until Colorado State shows that they can stop anyone, I'm not really running to say that they can win or cover any game. I would lean over here, but this is not a game I'm going to be betting on. I don't have enough to really go on. There's too many issues here, especially with Montez, and this total is high. This game could end 34-27 and you lose. If it was around 60, I'd be more interested. At 65-ish, punters are coming in on the over, and it could be just a bit too high here.
Jeff, pound the rock. We're going to talk here 149 to 150, 9 o'clock Eastern start, San Diego State versus the Stanford Cardinal. Line opens up at 14.5, 15.5, depending on where you're shopping at. Has dipped below that 2-touchdown number, Jeff. So we're looking at, San Diego State getting a little bit of love out there for Rockies boys, talking about running the football. This is the game that you're going to want to see. Opened up, Jeff, 51.5, 53. Now down to 48.5. I know you're high on Bryce Love there, the running back from Stanford, maybe revenge factor type game. We don't want to let this happen. One thing we do know is Rocky Long's going to have these boys ready to play. Can they stop the Stanford running game, Jeff?
Yeah, I think they can. I don't think they'll fully stop it, but I think they can. This defense for the Aztecs is very good. Rocky Long is a defensive coach. He's really not even one of the more underrated coaches in the country. Very solid coach, always has a consistent program. And I continue to be in awe of what San Diego State has done with their athletic program, Donnie. This was a virtually unknown 15 years ago. You look now, they're constantly a great team in not only football but basketball. It's really impressive what they continue to do year after year. I think this is too many points, personally. If I can get 2 touchdowns with a team like San Diego State, I'm interested. I think they're one of the better group of 5 teams out there. I don't think that you talk about run back or you with Wisconsin. Maybe we should look at San Diego State as well. I mean, Marshall Faulk way back in the day. You look at lately with Donnell Pumphrey and then Rashard Penny, now Jawan Washington. They can run the football. They're good on defense. They have some pretty good receivers. And Christian Chapman, he's not going to wow you. He's nothing special, but he does not make mistakes. He doesn't throw the football to the other team. He doesn't fumble. He's a good game manager. It's exactly what he is and what they ask him to be. Offensive line's very good. I wonder about Stanford on defense. I really do. Morency and I were talking about this. He says that he thinks, and I'm sure they will. They'll just plug players in, but I don't know about that in the first game. They don't have a legit pass rusher like they've had in years past. I think that's going to make it a little bit tougher on a secondary that's lost a lot of talent. You look at all the talent Stanford lost last year: Meeks, Holder, Justin Reed. They lost a lot of talent last year in that secondary. On a secondary that had some issues as it is anyway. I think this is a few too many points, but I think the total is probably a good play. I think this is a little too low. I think we see kind of like I don't know, a 28-21 type of game, a 31-21 type of game. I think we see a game that gets into the 50s. I mean, I think if you like San Diego State, you missed the 14.5. You kind of are up shit's creek here. But I think if you can get 2 touchdowns, I think they're valuable here. I think San Diego State can hang. The only concern is it's at the Farm, and Stanford's playing with revenge. Remember, SDSU beat them last year as an 8-point dog in San Diego. But I got to tell you, Donnie, I like this Aztecs team. They're pretty freaking good under Rocky Long.
Now, you know what's interesting about this game, Jeff? We've bitched and moaned over the years, the Shaw effect. And if you don't know what I'm talking about on Stanford, not always the best decisions, game planning, trying to cover big numbers or, at the end of football games for Shaw itself. Rocky Long, I love this coach. I mean, year after year after year. And you want to talk about a lineage of running backs now starting to get together, Jeff. Take a look at San Diego State over the past couple years. But there's always something about betting a Shaw-Stanford football team that leaves a little bit less than desired, where maybe you can put the game out of reach, you don't do it because you're conservative, or maybe a questionable play called sometimes. Shaw always comes in because, look, we're not just asking you to win the football game. You're going to have to win this game by 2 touchdowns against a team that beat you last year, and usually comes in ready to be coached.
Yeah, I never like betting against David Shaw. I mean, he is a guy that is a pretty good coach, and he's flirted with going to the NFL. But I think one thing about him is is a tad bit conservative at times.
Yes.
That's a good point by Joe Kerr. He really just
Yep.
generally wants to get out of there with a win.
Yep.
This isn't going to be an easy game. I mean, San Diego State, as he knows, he's not. He's like going in there saying, "Oh, San Diego State, we'll trash them." He knows they're a good
Mhm.
football team. They're a
Yep.
consistent team, and that's why Long is a good coach. He always is his team's consistent, no matter who he loses. He's a good recruiter on the offensive side. This is going to be a tough one. I think it's a 10-point game either way. I think San Diego State hangs within this number. I would rock with the Az.
159, 160, Jeff. Army versus Duke. An interesting one here for the Black Knights. Like to put it on the table. I lost the same game last year, Jeff, up at Mikey Stadium at West Point. Now they're going to reverse roles, come back down to Duke. I know you've always been high on the Armies, the Navies, the Air Forces, just the way they play football games. But from just a betting perspective and watching from a viewer perspective, it's so hard to bet against the academies because when they run their offense and run it well, it's 4 to 5 yards in a cloud of dust, Jeff, and it seems like they're always in 2nd and 2 and 2nd and 3, and 4th and 1 is their bread and butter. And now in the new analytics stage, Army does it quite a bit, even on their own side of the field, Jeff. 4th and 1, 4th and short, they will go for it. Talk to us about some of this game, because I know David Cutcliffe, you're not that high on them, even Duke, just a program at this point, but maybe revenge factor there. But I had Duke last year at Mikey. They were atrocious, especially in the first half, I believe, getting down 14-0, which if you're going to get down 2 touchdowns to a service academy, they are going to bleed that clock. Duke Army tonight setting up the game for you, Jeff. -11 it opened up. Now you're seeing it pop to 14 at Pinnacle. Primary number out there, 13.5. Over under extremely low, Jeff. Chris sporting a 45.5.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the last few matches between these two teams. I mean, 21-16, 13-6. Then there was a 44-3. But you're right. I don't like Cutcliffe. I'm not a big fan of his. Look, I think he's an okay coach. I just don't like him game to game. He's a bit too conservative for me. He takes literally no chances. If it's 4th and inches, he punts. Like that's just what he does. He's just kind of a pussy in a way, really. I mean, it's just kind of what he is. And I'm not a big Duke guy. I don't like Daniel Jones a whole hell of a lot. This isn't a team with Breon Borders and Jeremy Cash defensively. Jameson Crowder's not welcome to the door. There's not a ton of playmakers here with this team. I think the only thing they really have leading on is the fact that they're at home Friday night, and this Army team has more problems than they do. They have no legitimate quarterback, but I think one thing is well known. They still have some decent running backs. They still have the ability to move the football a little bit. I don't know. This is the toughest game of the night to me. If you say to me, pick a game or I'll blow your head off, I probably would take Army. They have played them tough. It's tough when you're playing Army to have a big lead just because they do sit on the football for a while. But what Army needs to do is they need to convert touchdowns tonight. They need to find a way to convert these possessions into touchdowns because if they just play field goals all night, it will be difficult, as it is for any team. The clock will just kind of eat them up in a way. Gun to my head, I'd go Army, but I don't want any. I'm not telling anyone to take that. This is a tough football game. I think both teams have some concerns. Um, so therefore, I'm pretty much
Jeff,
going
how
to
about
pass.
a angle in this one? I know a lot of people like to look at saying, "Hey, look, Duke kids are, on average, smarter than the average football team one would think." But Army doesn't get any better than being West Point kids. But talk about the factor of we saw you last year. We play you damn near year to year. I had a whole off season to get in the tendencies and what we're going to look
Yeah.
for by breaking it in, throughout summer camp. Now you get them game one as opposed to maybe on a 6-day week where you just came off playing a team that's spread option. Now you're going to get a team that's going to be running it on the ground. Talk to it about how these Duke football head coaches can say, you know what? Let's just practice all summer long. We'll figure out down the stretch the Florida States and the Miamis, but let's get these principles ingrained in these kids' head. Talk about how that can be a factor.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big advantage. I mean, the fact that you have more time to prepare for this kind of offense. If this was the second game of the season, I would obviously be more interested in taking, maybe Army here, just because I do think it's going to be more difficult. But here's the concern and why I think Duke always is successful. Duke sees this offense a lot with Georgia Tech. I mean, they play Georgia Tech. They generally play Army every year. So this is not exactly a team that doesn't see this. And look, I mean, there are issues for both sides here. I'm not going to try to sell you a bill of goods that Duke is way better than Army or vice versa. But one thing you're going to have with the Army program, they're always going to play hard. Just some trends to keep your eye out for. As an underdog, 11 of 13 have gone under for Army. I mean, they generally play low against teams that are better than they are, and they generally stay in games. So that might be worth a look there. Duke's been a big under trender as well. But you have a very low total here at 45.5, just maybe a bit even too low. You're hoping for like a 26-10 type of game if you like the under. You're hoping for a 24-13 if you like, Army. You're hoping for something low, but a gun to my head it'd be Army, but it's not a one that I'm too keen on.
No, I hear you on that. But that's going to wrap up college football. I mean, hey, we got a full slate tomorrow. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but we have the Saturday sit down tomorrow. Is that still on with me and you? We could preview the damn near entire card tomorrow.
As far as I know, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to be, we're going to kind of do what we just did. We're going to find, let's say 5 or 6 games, really give out great content with all these games. I'm going to try to get some good information on these things. Obviously, when you're looking at a college card, you have to be well aware that I know maybe you have to do it in week 1, but from weeks 2 on, you really should not be just going down the screen and picking things off. You need to develop tendencies. You need to develop teams that you like, teams that work for you. You don't want to go into you don't want to go into a Saturday with a hodgepodge of I'm just going to pick who I like. It's not really a smart idea. I would definitely stay away from doing that. But yeah, we'll find some games. We'll take a few questions tomorrow on that, and kind of get into our first real college football Saturday. Also, I'll be putting some plays in on the website, Donnie, which I'm excited about. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. We got football weekend. I'm down here at the Shore, which is, for me, Donnie, a place that I can go and get a lot of stuff done. I've been really kind of on top of all this stuff this week. So, we'll keep it up. We'll keep firing through. We got about 4 minutes. If you have any quick questions, feel free to send those in. Donnie, I'm guessing you're just going to hang out. Oh, real quick, off topic here. This is a good question. Is week 4 preseason the worst of any sport? You'd be hard pressed to find.
Why is it even why is there preseason in football anymore? Do we I think the college football teams, Jeff, do just fine and don't need any added ticket sales or any nonsense. They have a spring game, they get it out of the way, and they be done with it. If somebody told you tomorrow, like Donnie, as a staunch Eagle fan, or Jeff, as a staunch Eagle fan, would you be devastated if they never put a preseason game on TV or didn't even have one? I would say I don't need to see that. Just have some joint practices with other teams. Practice. I'll see game 1 and be fired up. These preseason games are atrocious, and I can't even believe they still go on. It's outrageous how poor of a production it is, and you don't need to say it. Don't give me the shit that the 58th man on the team is trying to make the team. Who gives a shit about the 58th man? Just get to the regular season.
Yeah, I love the Eagles. I mean, I bleed Eagle green, but I got to tell you, I didn't watch one. I think I watched like 2 minutes of last night's game. Like that was literally it. And the only player I cared about seeing was Mailata, the left tackle. That was literally the only player I cared about. Yeah, I hate week 4. Mike Mayock loves it. Mike Mayock was reveling about how great week 4 preseason is. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they should cut it down to 3, if not 2. BMOC Leeds Middlesbrough. Do you like Middlesbrough to win? Tough game, really tough game. These are 2 of the best teams in the championship. It smells draw to me. I know Flash Watson said he liked Middlesbrough on the show the other day, which I urge you. I want to make this clear, all of you. Check out the Football League show that Flash and I do. You can find it on the SBR videos page. We break down all the leagues: England, League 1, League 2, the championship. We break down all the leagues. Had some great picks this week. Went over all the championship games. We generally do real well with those. Flash leaned Middlesbrough, and I would lean Middlesbrough myself. Generally, in a game like this, I want to go towards the better defensive side. I like Bielsa; he's done a great job at Leeds, but Middlesbrough look real good. They look like the second best team in this division. So, yeah, I would consider Middlesbrough plus the big price here. Can I get 3 games to parlay? Listen, Cole Corleone seemed like a nice guy, but bet him straight, man. If you do know if you have a parlay, you need all 3 to hit the win. It's hard to win one game, brother. Just bet them all straight. But you're welcome to parlay everything I just said. Take the games I felt confident in. and run with that. Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate it. Comic Ricky, what's happening? What sports book do we recommend? We recommend you go to sportsbookreview.com. Check out all the books. They're reviewed. They're graded. They give you a talk on each book. Make sure you check out Sportsbook Review. You can decide that way. Joe Carr, Tease Northwestern. Shouldn't be doing teasers anymore either, people. I remember my first beer as well. Stay away from teasers, Donnie, right? No teasers.
Look, the adage is, Jeff, it's hard enough just to win one game. You know what I mean? One simple fumble in a game throws that teaser right off the bat. So,
Donnie, your team Young Boys made the Champions League.
yeah,
Good
baby.
point.
God damn.
Young Boys are moving on. I think Huskies roll Auburn. Do you agree? I don't think they roll Auburn, but I do like Washington. Do you like West Kentucky to cover? We already talked about that game. You have to circle back, Chief. What time and days are the videos with you and Flash? We do them Thursday, but they're recorded. I record them on my own and send them to SBR. Usually the video is out by, a few hours later. Check that out Thursday. And that's looks like we'll wrap it up, Donnie. Did you give your 4 playoff teams? No, but I will now. Michigan, Clemson, Alabama, Washington. I'm going very chalk. Everyone have a great day. Donnie, thanks for the show. As always, terrific. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We're both Donnie and I just kind of hanging out the rest of the day. So make sure you check us out tomorrow. Have a great day. Thanks to Freddie for producing the show. We'll see you tomorrow here on SBR.